Ready or not, the holidays have found their way to the Disneyland Resort, and one holiday is not over yet. Old friends go away as new progress comes inside of the park. It's a busy week at Disneyland on the news front and the guests that are inside of the gate. So many new things are happening with projects, construction, and holiday coming. It's your Disneyland Weekly Update on a week where so much new stuff is happening and more stuff is on the way. Greetings, fellow citizens of Disneyland. Bricky here for our weekly walk around the Disneyland Resort to see everything that we can find that is new, update on projects that we're already covering, and walk around and look at the entire scope of the park as it's changing, as evolving through the lens of the designer's eye. It's your weekly Disneyland update. Let's see what new adventures we can find. And nearly 6 months to the day of the Disneyland Resort reopening, we saw prices go up this week. And it happened the very day that they announced it. You can see here parking is up. And you can also see that right at the gate, this is before you get into security, why it's a photo and not filmed. They are no longer selling magic keys for the Dream Key. And they let you know that right at the gate. And prices did raise for DCA fans on a day that they'd have to exit early for Oogie Boogie's Bash. As you can see here from the rails of the Mark Twain, it is busy. This is about noon on Thursday. I got there at 11 and you could just feel it building and building and building. So the demand is definitely there. Will the demand stay there? Probably. I don't want to get too much into the tickets and the passes and all that stuff. We did an entire podcast about that this Wednesday. Check it out on the channel. Soon the parade doors of justice are going to swing wide open with the return of the Christmas Fantasy Parade and also the announced Main Street Electric Parade. And speaking of parades, look at this cast of characters that's coming up the street right now. How you doing, sir? Amazing. Parades are coming back really soon. Hey ladies, and I'm excited for it. Look at that. Wow, my very own one-on-one cavalcade, Mr. Hook. That's exciting. Parades are coming back. Can't wait for the holidays to return and a little bit more normalcy to go along with those raised price points. What do you say, huh? The sword is back in town. Yeah, the sword is back in the zone. Everything's back to normal, guys. It's over. Oh, wait a minute. Everything isn't back to normal. The Castle Holiday Shop. I was afraid of this moment. Another favorite spot gone. Well, that didn't take long for the Castle Holiday Shop to be closed down. Not mad that they put a bench in front of it, but I really enjoyed this little holiday shop inside of Fantasyland because the holiday season is when the world feels the most like a fantasy, and it was such a good fit for this area. And I'm very curious, like, why wouldn't you keep both locations going just through the holiday season? Like, I could understand shutting this down January 15th, but shutting it down just, weeks away from the holiday season starting, especially with Merriest Nights coming, where you could do an exclusive ornament drop here. It's very interesting to see how Disney is managing this time where they seem to be stretched a little bit thin on resources and staffing. Me personally, I would have liked to have kept this open during the holidays, but it'll be interesting to see what happens here. Rumors have it, some of you said it in the comments last week, which I always read, that this might become some sort of lightning lane for Peter Pan. That would be very sad. If I lost a Christmas shop for the lightning lane, that would go against my Disney code of design ethics. But what are you gonna do? It is SimCity, it is in constant influx, which is why I enjoy doing this video series. RIP, Castle Holiday Shop. You were a good friend and you always gave me the holiday vibes when I needed it the most, months and months away from the holiday season. Call a cast member. Somebody put graffiti on the front of Big Thunder Mountain. Oh, no, wait. That's the lightning lane sign. Big Thunder Mountain reopening November 4th. That's this coming week. I think it was just a general maintenance, and I guess while the attraction was down, they decided to go ahead and lightning lane it up. I'm not sure if this closed off doors just to keep guests away, or if maybe they are figuring out a different way to bring in Lightning Lane gas, but it's coming, and it's coming soon. So I had big plans on taking the monorail into Tomorrowland and finally getting to ride it, and also get a view into Nemo's Lagoon. And unfortunately, with it being 95 degrees today and feeling like Palm Springs and Anaheim, the monorail is shut down because the tracks are too hot. One day I'll get back on the monorail. I was able to ride out at Walt Disney World, but still have not a monorail lap at my home park of Disneyland. Oh, it keeps eluding me. Friends, we have so many updates this week that if you look down in the description of this video, I have broken it up into chapters. So many things going on that I wanted you to be able to go to the parts that matter most to you. We've already worked our way through the breaking news of the week, and now we're into a segment where we're going to follow up with things that have come to a conclusion already. And the monorail was one of those things that was down that has already come to its conclusion. However, I was unable to get on the monorail, so hopefully next week I'll be able to take that first lap and document it for you all. But many of you have probably already made it on the monorail before me. The timing has just not been on my side. And I need the monorail to show you what's happening over at the Nemo Lagoon. If you were ever curious where Disney believes Tomorrowland ends and Fantasyland begins, it's right there. It is right there. That's the seam. That's where you see the theming change. And it would make sense because over on the Fantasyland side, we have the Matterhorn, which is technically an attraction of Fantasyland. And over on the Tomorrowland side, we have this. A shovel and a dream. Another one of the projects that we are tracking that is already completed is the Plaza Point Holiday Shop is open at the edge, or the end, I should say, of Main Street. So excited to have this over on Main Street. Too bad it meant losing the Castle Holiday Shop. 2 shops I could have done. But the old Photo Supply store, they really did a good job of packing in a lot of display, a lot of theming, and a lot of merchandise in a spot that was pretty tidy. As always in Disney stores, look up. That's where the story lies, out of the reach of the customers. That's where the merchandise ends and the story begins. So looking up, we can see a lot of old school. They're going for a Victorian vibe. You can see that with the wallpaper and a lot of the theming that they've used in these displays. And also a big shout out to Disney for going very diverse. I'm guilty of saying Christmas when the word should be holiday. We should all be looking to celebrate everything with every different type of citizen of Disneyland. That was one of the things I loved about Magic Happens, is that it was reflective of the people that go to the park. And I love that black Santa Claus hanging there in the tree. I just think that they did some really cool moves in here to make everybody feel like our friends in the LGBTQ community and showing diversity here with the children. They did a really good job of making this a holiday shop for everybody, not just the mainstream Christmas that I celebrate, but a holiday shop for everyone. When you look around and some of the decorations that they're using to tell the story, it does skew very heavy towards Christmas, which is what most people will think that this is, but they have definitely done, I think, a good job of making this a holiday shop for all. I'm very curious to see what it looks like during other holiday seasons when we get away from the big headliner of the year, which is the Christmas holiday season. But so far, this store looks really good. And I love up here over to the right and to the left of that centerpiece. I love that snow-covered bridge that's going over those hills of snow. And then over here in the corner where I believe we have some different items related to Hanukkah. It's pretty awesome. Pretty cool thing, and it's very in line with where Disney's trying to be with their current ability to make a park that is reflective to all the citizens of Disneyland. Then we have this lady who's doing a handcrafted ornament. They have some different things that you can choose from a menu to customize one of your ornaments, and I could have sat here and watched her do that all day long, but I know how much I hate when people watch me illustrate. Here's a cool shout out to the past of the Main Street Flower Market that was West Center Street that used to exist over there, where you could go and buy flowers for the day, real flowers too. The Main Street Flower Market was opened in 1957 on West Center Street, where it remained for 20 years. I love that little shout out to Disney's history. This was about the only thing that I could find that paid tribute to the current holiday that's coming up, Thanksgiving. I'll be interested to see how holiday shop this holiday shop is. Yeah, and I meant that sentence to sound confusing. Do love the typography here on these 2 little insignias that flank both the left and right hand side of the main entryway. All out, I thought this was a really solid addition for Main Street. Friends, I think it's pretty easy to see by the smile on my face that I'm super happy that the Plaza Point holiday shop is open. I can't wait to see how they handle the non-holidays, but I want to give just a huge shout out to Disney for being so inclusive with the decorations in there. They're representing as many people and as many holidays as possible, and I, for one, think that is a really good thing, and I'm sure you do too. Or if you don't, you'll let me know in the comments. We have so much holiday updates in today's video. You can see that in chapters below, but now we're going to go into the design segment of our weekly update, where we break down the design of something that's happening in the park. This is the current progress over in Toontown. Not much has happened to the entryway for the El Cartoon Theater, but I wanted to show you something that I was thinking about with this steel work that is exposed. Obviously, you can see that this is the framing for the hills and cityscape that will put in that third layer of storytelling, the infinity layer that will make Toontown feel like it goes on forever. And then in that magic trick, hide this massive show building for Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, which is an attraction I got to do on my trip out to Walt Disney World, which is absolutely amazing. So let's take a field trip over to DCA's Monster Inc. and we can see now how this magic trick works. Like when we look at this facade, we see all these various vignettes with about 3 feet of space between them, but it gives it a lot of dimension. Well, when we go in between those layers, we can look at the front side of the artwork, but then on the back side, we can see how the steel work roughly resembles the artwork that is on the front of it. So when we look at Mickey and Minnie's and we see things that are shaped like buildings, that obviously means that there'll be a cityscape there. And then the ones that are just a little bit more broad, that will be where the rolling hills go. But you can see how this steel work pretty much captures the shape of whatever's going to be adhered to the front of it. And with putting these, 3 or 4 feet away from each other, it really does create a natural balance of space, lighting differentials, shadows. Man, if they could use that stairwell to just have a couple of characters wave at you when you're coming in, that would have been an amazing touch of Disney social distance character meet and greet. But I thought a little walk over here would show you guys how this trick is the same trick that we're getting ready to see happen in real time over in Toontown. Just putting those little breaks in there makes this magic trick so much better than if it was one flat piece. Monsters Inc. is down, and I wanted to show you guys how that steel work creates all those different vignettes that eventually will make Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway building disappear and give us that third level of storytelling that Disney does so well, that infinity layer, that last layer that makes you feel like the land you're in goes on forever. Well, the attraction's closed, so I didn't think I'd get to walk through the tunnel and film those various different layers. And the cast members said, "What are you doing?" I politely explained. They said, "Oh, well, the ride's closed. We'll let you back there to take those videos." So it's just those little things. When the park goes the way that it's supposed to, this is a place of magic. And I know I've been critical lately because that's kind of part of my responsibility, but I always do like to bring to attention when it's doing exactly what it's supposed to, making magical moments. And yeah, it's just letting a guest in to take some videos, but she didn't have to do that. They didn't have to do that. Technically, I don't know, they might get in trouble for doing that. But they did it because they see that that's what I needed from the park today. And that's one of the things I've always admired about Disneyland and their cast members. Regardless of how silly your dream is, they will always work with you to make it come true. So shout out to the cast member that gave me permission to go back there and to take those photos so that we could see how this steel work is very similar to what we see on the front of the Monsters facade. Moving over to World of Color, I know that I promised you guys we would go into a deeper design discussion on how this attraction actually works. We're going to take advantage and study everything we can about this while it's completely drained. However, there's so much holiday updates, we're going to have to just move along, and I promise I'll get it to you on a slower week because it doesn't look like this thing's going to get refilled with water anytime soon. That tent did move a little bit over to our right. It looks like maybe they're starting on the edge of the table and working their way over. This tent, I was having a hard time figuring out if it was in the same place as last week. But I did notice a couple of things that have changed week to week, and we're now in the chapter where we're studying, how various projects have changed. This rock work, last week I was showing you the water line as we were talking about how there's a flatness off the edge. So if a guest were to fall into the water, it doesn't slope down until several feet off the edge. So if a guest fell in, they wouldn't immediately drown. I've also noticed that there's these little tabletops That rebar to me says concrete's getting poured, and I've noticed that there's those in almost every four corners. But getting back over to the rock work, you can see that there is some scaffolding here for the workers to probably touch up or repaint that rock work, which when we looked back at it on last week's visit, you can definitely see there was an erosion and a water line that had developed, which makes sense with having it submerged in water. But yes, these little tabletop guys, these are popping up everywhere. They have a flat concrete base, and I'm not sure exactly what they do, but we'll be able to figure it out. There's the rock work that I'm talking about, and actually, if we look back to next week, I feel like maybe it's already been painted, because this looks a lot sort of faded out and not quite as bright as what we see. Whenever you see those black borders, friends, that means we're time traveling to an older update. This to me just feels like it's a little bit more saturated with color. Here's another one of those tabletops that I'm noticing that some concrete work's happening on. And then this is the fourth and final one that I was able to find. We can also see that there is some water running around. We had sizable rains this Monday, not as wet as everybody predicted, but we had some rain. It's interesting where this has scaffolding around it and a ladder to get up to it. Does that mean that the workers will be doing something from above to go down into this space? Very curious about that. And with weeks to come, we'll be able to track exactly what's happening over at the World of Color Lagoon. Now let's move our way over to Pelican Landing, which is this new area that is popping up on the edges of the rivers of America. Let's go back to a couple of weeks where I can show you from the edge of the Mark Twain. It was primarily sand in there. You know, they were getting the land all leveled out, doing that first step of construction where you kind of get everything leveled so you can build whatever you want to build on top of that solid foundation. And also we saw that the Columbia was down as well. Now let's move up to today, and we can creep up here at a Mark Twain's pace and see that a lot of the concrete has already been laid inside of Pelican Landing. We can see a lot of the steel work where more concrete's to come. We see these vertical pillars almost doing a differential of where you're going past the dock. It'd be interesting to see, will this area feel like it's out protruding over the water? Harbor Galley Restaurant is scheduled to reopen November 19th, and Sailing Ship Columbia is scheduled to reopen on the 24th. So I have a feeling that this project is going to be wrapping up probably somewhat soon, and I'm very, very excited about it because all of this leads over to Fowler's Harbor, which is my absolute favorite spot inside of Disneyland. I'm hoping this is a Vibe Crusher zone. Another project that we are tracking is the Christmas transformation of It's a Small World. If you look on the front facade, you can see that overnight they are putting those Christmas lights all over this beautiful facade. This attraction is scheduled to reopen on November 10th, which is interesting because the holidays begin on the 12th and the first Merriest Nights is 11/11, Make-A-Wish. So this will be open a day before Christmas begins. It'll be fascinating to see if that's the actual date, but really looking forward to Small World Holiday. And we can see that they have drained out the canals of Small World. You can see the tracks there with the little wheels on the bottom of the boat ride along while you're sailing around on the happiest sail that ever set way. But we can see that it's all drained out. And guys, this is going to take a long time because we've only got one man working on the job. But I'm pretty sure Big Ed can take care of it. Right, Big Ed? He's on it. Speaking of Merriest Nights, I bought tickets for all 5 evenings. I'll be doing live streams and lots of vlogs. Get ready for some serious holiday coverage over on our YouTube channel. Now let's move our way over to the project that seems to never end, but definitely takes the sidewalks and makes them even more narrow. Mickey's Toontown Path, where I think they're putting in a quote-unquote red carpet to lead you up to the El Cartoon Theater, is still doing its thing. And then here we have the non-skin colored banner, where if you look through it, you can see there's a dude in there. Do you see his little legs? I was hoping that he would move, but the dude is just standing there. He's probably looking at the blueprints, trying to figure out how he's going to make this Fantasyland sign even better. And speaking of non-skin colored banners, treehouse? What treehouse? I don't see a treehouse. Do you see a treehouse? You'd have to be crazy to think there used to be a treehouse here. I heard a family named the Swiss Robinsons used to live here, but I don't know where they went with their Swiss hot cocoa, and I don't know if their last name is Swiss Robinson or just Robinson. I don't know anything because I can't see anything because it's so well disguised. Speaking of well disguised, let's talk about a well disguised project that I'm starting to wonder, is this ever really going to happen? Yeah, there's artwork around this little control box that exists outside of Astro Orbiter, but is this project really ever going to happen? All right, now we are starting our holiday coverage 20 minutes into the video. Blinky Winky Mr. Mickey is going to be turned away real soon because, as you can see, we already have snow all over the castle. I mean, all over it. And I wanted to use this as an opportunity to explain to you how it works. A couple of years ago, when they did a refurbishment of Snow White's castle, one of the things they did was reinforce the top turrets of the entire castle. Because essentially, these are like hats that sit over the top of the existing roof. You can see that seam right there where it's just sitting on top. When they did that big construction project on Snow White's castle, they were making sure that the turrets could hold the weight of future displays to come. This is one of those evolutions of Disneyland. When they first made Snow White's castle, they had no idea it would evolve into a changing set piece and also a movie screen for nighttime shows. So that's one of the things they had to do to bring it up to speed, is make sure that this roof could carry the weight of whatever Imagineering and park officials wanted to put on the castle as we saw it change for the 60th anniversary. Hopefully making it a little bit more architecturally sound will allow it to keep being a centerpiece of creativity for the park. New Orleans Square got a healthy holiday update. You can see that there is all kinds of fun country type themed things over on the train station. Remember when I told you soon Magnolia Park would be full of people and not vibes? Well, it's here. Over on the French Market, we see a little Jack Skellington decoration that I think is fun to tie it in with the Haunted Mansion that you can look across while you're having your snacks. But man, New Orleans Square has definitely got vibes all over it. And it's fun to see how they try to take decorations and match it with the land that you're in. Here we see lots of traditional Mardi Gras colors. Over on the Witch Doctor's porch, you can see that the Witch Doctor has all these bottles and old vine work to be on theme with the brand of the person that lives there. We can see lower that a lot of the different poles have decorations to give you that jazz New Orleans type vibe. This one's a little bit more casual. This one we see the fleur-de-lis and some suns inside of there. But it is so fun to see how they choose a color and a vibe that accompanies the building that it's set decorating outside, such as this purple fabric with the gold fringe hanging down and lots of different horns inside of that wreath that's on the center. The big star and moon over in the little park area next to where everyone is eating. This really does make New Orleans Square come together during the holidays. Over here on the edge of this second floor patio, we see lots of bright greens with some golds in there to really flesh it out. But my favorite, paying tribute to the history of Disneyland, is this one right here, tributing Court of Angels, which back in '66, there was a little courtyard inside of there that was called the Court of Angels, which was annexed into part of Club 33. It's now the little lobby area that you have to cruise through when they added in the Club Nouveau and redesigned how the club works. But what a great shout out to the history. And we're just seeing so many of these balconies changing colors, changing vibes according, look, Christmas fiddle, all changing according to the building that they are attached to. Love these little chubby old school Santa Clauses hanging out here on the bottom of this railway. So just such a great way to bring in the holiday vibes and set it up as a neighborhood. Hello, Christmas gesture, I see you. But just look how each building has its own color, has its own vibe, and it does make this area, the French Quarter, that opened with 0 attractions back in the day, just a neighborhood that they brought into the park. Very important, very sweet part of Disneyland, and nice to see it adored with such great decorations and see some of the neighbors. It looks like Jack and Sally are out waving hi to everybody, but with that sun bursting through the mast there, the holidays are coming to New Orleans Square, and I'm here for it. Now back in Toontown, we really see the idea of taking the theme of the holiday decorations and matching it to the building in a very extreme way, like the stamps there on the post office, but then the water hose garland and hydrants over at the fire department with the Dalmatian ornaments. Like, that is really, really clever and fun. And everything in Toontown is just, amped up to make it feel more animated. So of course we're going to see the decorations over here go to a whole higher level of being literal than what we just saw over in New Orleans Square. Look at the wreath up there with Roger Rabbit in the center of it and all those fun decorations. Even though this courtyard is not being used right now, I feel like it could still be going even though the attraction's coming. We see the forks over on the diner. We see the ketchup, mustard, and relish over there on the little eatery. And then Donald has his decorations floating on a buoy, all matched up to a Christmas version of his signature colorway with just a little bit more metallic shimmer to it. Then we're going to step over to Goofy's house, who apparently Goofy is way into bowling, so much so that he decorated his home with bowling balls and bowling pins. But there you see his signature colors spread out with some other holiday cheer. Just a really cool vibe to take the characters' homes and tie them in with their own personalities inside of them. Just a really fun way I would expect for kids to see Christmas through that innocent lens that we only get so many years of. This little food cart that's not open is adorable. Shout out to VG with the hockey stick on there. But when I came over to the front yard to look at Minnie's holiday tree, she came out to say hi to me, and I felt excited that for a little bit it was just Minnie and I hanging out in her front yard. And I do love the Christmas tree that she has in her yard. Same with over at Mickey's. Looks like those old school ceramic Christmas trees that you used to have where each branch had little lights that would light up. Love the heart-shaped wreath up there in the top of her home. And then the big man himself was out on the front porch. With Mickey, we're just going with his traditional colorway. So if you wanted to vibe your Christmas tree out, that's a really good pattern that you could do if you wanted to do a Mickey Mouse themed Christmas tree and just kind of keep it on the down low and keep those colors. But this is that old school ceramic Christmas tree I'm talking about, where the actual branches had like a real light bulb on the edge of them. That was just one of the things that I loved as a kid. And they have all of the branches sort of painted on there to suggest that there's branches inside of those sculpted branches. But hey, I'm not going to lie, it's always fun when you see Mickey out on his front porch. This is the way this sign always looked, but I got so deep into Hunting for Christmas, I'm like, wait a minute, did they put Adams on top of the Adams and make these Adams look like Christmas Adams? I was getting into the zone of being the Christmas bounty hunter, trying to find as many holiday displays as I could, and this one started to mess with my mind. Let's hop over to DCA. We're over on the airfield. We can see that Santa's seeing what the wind's like, so he can bring the old sleigh down for a landing in the Grizzly Peak. The trees in Grizzly Peak, my wife's favorite part of the park. Put up a date night Halloween vlog last night. Dare you to go check it out. I think you'll enjoy it. But I love the lanterns, and her favorite thing over here are the mason jars. They have the paddles with the old school holly and Christmas bows. They do such a good job with my wife's favorite part of the park of making it feel very country. This does not feel like Southern California. There's some of those mason jars. So hard to film when the sun's out, but finally found a tree that had the proper color makeup to where you could really see the glass jars coming through. But this area through here, the way that it gets dark at night, the way it does feel like you're out in the wilderness, there's a cowboy hat and a lantern and a canteen up there and that wreath. Just really love how they put together the vibes of a Northern California type vibe down in Southern California. All right, let's work our way over to the Pacific Wharf, where once again, the theming is pretty on brand. We see the anchor here, and we see some old like floats, or what are those things called? Buoys? I'm not sure. You see those on a dock. I'm not really a dock guy, but I know that I've seen those floating around the dock. We've got the light up anchors. Then when we move inside, each of the restaurants doing some sort of decoration that reflects what they do. The bakery, we see this garland with all these sourdough loaves. We see some cutting boards coming down. Do you cut bread, or that's where you knead it, or you roll it out? I don't know. You've seen people do it. You have no idea what it's called, right? But we see seagulls flying by being like, hey, what, can we eat this? No, it's fake. Damn you, Disney. Then we see Christmas lights. There are Christmas lights hanging through the Pacific Wharf. over on the edge. Ghirardelli. Don't ever say it wrong, you idiot, Bricky, when I did my Jack Shack Dum Dum. Pretty conservative, just going with core company colors. But when we look down through the wharf, we can see the Christmas light canopy is coming to us very, very soon. Are they going to really wait to turn all of this on, or will they light it up early? Who knows? We might have to do a nighttime version of the weekly update. Love the hot peppers and the Mexican colors and that garland. And then over here, the best one, absolutely the best one, the Happy Holidays takeout containers and the fortune cookies inside of the red garland. Just absolutely love how each one of these designs is reflective of the owners or the people that would live in the building or run the shop that it's attached to. Here we see another one of the Latino garlands that have the hot peppers on it and various things. So I went over to Cars Land and I said, have they started to maybe sneak some decorations inside of the Cozy Cone Motel? No, it's still the Breaks Motel. A completely clever and cool shout out to Psycho. Why it's in there, who knows, but it's amazing, right? I love that detail. Now we're out in downtown Disney. We can see that the windows have transformed over. Very hard to film the windows during the day. I apologize about the glare, but you get the idea of the holiday vibes. Season greetings from Walt's Holiday Lodge. Very interesting that they're leaning on Walt for the branding and created a Walt's Holiday Lodge inside of the store. A lot of the Christmas actual merchandise doesn't really speak to me. I'm way more about the way that it's packaged and put together. But I did like some of the different messages, such as happier together. And I thought that was really cool branding, considering last year we were all spending the holidays alone and separated from one another. So very cool to see that come back. This icon, the Christmas castle, just put it on a t-shirt or make it a sweater pattern. You don't have to throw characters and glitter and rhinestones all around it. Just give me this on a black t-shirt or I'll make it myself. I'm capable. I could bang this out in an hour. But I love this icon. It's a shame Disney doesn't understand simple when it comes to their merchandise design. But we see Walt's Lounge. Love the happier together. That's a really, really great message. Once again, that's something I would think would make a nice t-shirt, but don't put glitter and rhinestones on it and Tinkerbell flying by. Walt's Lodge, an interesting idea. The entire world of Disney has garland going through it and already Christmas music. They are pushing out Halloween. I do like this little logo here. See, I think that, just the little skis in that logo, could be a t-shirt. Here we see the Disney home has a window display, even though the store is still full of Halloween items. And then last, everybody's been asking me about this Bricky. What about Love Pop? What about Pele? I'm a big Ted Lasso fan and I want to send somebody a greeting card. They're coming. I told you, they're coming. Friends, this is where we're going to part ways today at a very special spot. About a year ago, we were excited with the news we would soon be able to come into a free DCA and do a little bit of holiday shopping. And where I'm standing right now was the barrier that would happen about a year from now, a year and a couple of weeks. So I thought, in light of all the criticism that I've been doing lately, which I think is constructive and healthy, I don't ever want to be a blind Disney fan that the company can do no wrong. That's no good for me, no good for you, no good for anybody. But I do like to keep everything in check and keep in mind that today I hustled around both parks in downtown Disney with so many different holiday updates, like a slew of things have happened over the last 7 days. And just keep in mind, a year ago, we were waiting just to get to this spot. So friend, I hope you enjoyed our weekly rip around the Disneyland Resort, showing you everything new that has taken place over just 1 week. And this is a series that I've definitely been wanting to do for a long time. I've tried several times. And last week, your support of watching, commenting, and liking really, really helped me to decide to try to give it another chance. I really appreciate your support. I hope you enjoyed this walk around the resort, and I can't wait to do it with you again next week. So friends, this has been your weekly update of all new things happening at the Disneyland Resort. Until the next time I see you on the edge of Hollywoodland, I'll see you back here next Friday with more weekly updates. One last segment that I want to add on to the weekly updates is just a little bit of quiet Disney serenity at the end of every video, so we can always remember what a magical place it is. Thank you so much for showing up. I'll see you here next Friday. I hope you enjoyed this week's update. And thank you to all my friends at Club1313.com for making this video and all videos possible.